All right, good afternoon. I want to thank you all for both participating in the resident forum today, as well as sitting in and supporting each other as fellows in our American Academy of Cosmetic Surgery. This is our third official resident forum, but we kind of got off to a rough start. Jean-Paul, you said you were at our first one in person in Vegas 2 years ago, right before the pandemic hit, and that was a really good session, I thought, and where we had different fellows come and present on different aspects of cosmetic surgery to kind of expose residents to the whole realm of what our field is. But after that, we went virtual. We still had a good attendance. Now we're back in person, but we do have a lot of restrictions still among a lot of the residency programs as far as travel. So I don't think this is quite as big as we envision, but we want to learn from today's session and make it bigger and better going forward. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. Susan Obaji. About 20 years ago, I was in your shoes as a resident. Actually, I presented as a resident. And then in fact, I was pregnant with my first son, so 22 years ago. I was here as a resident. I presented on the Blue Peel, and then I joined a fellowship in cosmetic dermatologic surgery and sat for my AACS boards at that time and stayed on teaching both at the university, where I'm both on faculty in the Department of Dermatology and Plastic Surgery. We have residents that come in from all over the world, and physicians of all different backgrounds that come in and rotate with us. So, and if one day you guys are interested in coming and seeing what we do, I'd be happy to have you join as well. And so what I find is that reaching the young people is truly the future of this academy. I know that if I didn't have a mentor who really pushed me when I was a resident to come in and lecture and teach, I wouldn't have really known much about the academy. So my goal is to pay it back going forward as much as I can, and hopefully all of you will do the same. And so with that, what we did with the structure today, with the help of Dr. Hahm and the Young Surgeons Committee, is to see what, based on feedback in prior years, is the format for today's session that would be the most beneficial to residents trying to contemplate a role in cosmetic surgery for themselves in the future. So with that, we have different speakers coming up. Some are previous fellows, some are current fellows, and some are higher up in the executive committees of the Academy. So I'd like to welcome our first speaker up to the stage, Dr. Maria Diaz from Southern California. And she's doing a fellowship right now with Dr. Alex Sobel. Your background is OBGYN, and that again speaks volumes to what you're going to see today, the spectrum of the different specialties that commingle, that share everything they've learned across the different specialties, and I think that makes a big difference. We learn from each other going with that. All right, the stage is all yours.
Hi guys, I gotta sit at the right angle here. So I'm super excited you guys are here. Like Dr. Obaji said, I'm your friendly uterine surgeon from Southern California. And I'm gonna talk to you guys about why,
Your pointer's right there.
This.
Yes.
Oh.
We need to go forward, back, it is red, and then I don't know if it has a laser pointer.
That's okay. Okay, why AACS is unique. And to give you a hint, obviously it's in the subtitle, it's the people who make it unique. So quick little outline here. We're gonna talk about really what AACS is, how it is unique, and the amazing opportunities that you guys have as residents, and also what opportunities you guys have continuing on as cosmetic surgeons. So just a tiny bit of history. This is Dr. Richard Webster. You're gonna hear him a lot throughout this conference here, but he is kind of the founder of AACS. And so in the 60s, really he attended this Rhino conference that was put on by 3 different academies. And he said, you know, this doesn't make sense. We all have a shared like common knowledge and all shared like outcomes that we want. Why don't we make this a conglomerate and collaborate and make something better? And so that's kind of the birth of what AACS was. So bear with me, there's just gonna be a few times I'm gonna read things to you, so remember kindergarten, let me read to you here. We're going to talk about the AACS vision. So the American Academy of Cosmetic Surgery will lead as a multidisciplinary professional association advancing excellence and safety in cosmetic surgery and aesthetic medicine. And the mission is to overall provide education, professional development, and advocacy to advance the multi-specialty global discipline of cosmetic surgery and aesthetic medicine. So I think that's amazing. So now I kind of want to talk to you about what AACS is. And so this is who we are right now, currently over 1,600 members that you can see in the chart, everyone from derm to different surgical subspecialties. And then the other specialties on the top, you see that it's family medicine, internal medicine, even ortho, neuro, nurses, PAs, anesthesia. So it's a huge membership base that we have, and it's, like Dr. Obaji said, extremely diverse. That what makes it so unique and amazing. So back to this unique mindset, I want you guys to, hopefully you guys can see the chart. I know it's a little far, but as you guys know, there is no training program, residency program, I would say, that specifically trains cosmetic surgery only. We think about plastic surgery residencies that train in everything, hand, recon, trauma, and cosmetic surgery is only 1/6 of really what they train. And so for them to graduate, they only need 150 cosmetic surgery cases. And so AACS kind of saw that void and said, we need to elevate the training of what aesthetic surgery is. And so that's why they created the fellowships. And specifically in our fellowships, we need at least 300 cases to graduate. And that's only if you're doing a general case. So that's very amazing and unique as well. And now I want to talk about what you guys get as resident members. Briefly, this is just kind of all about the education. We have live web clinics, which is basically kind of the topics that you're doing here, but virtually. So you have the masters in aesthetic surgery, and they talk about the new up-to-date lectures and topics. Core curriculum review are the reviews that we have every month that the fellows give each other. And so we talk about different surgeries, complications, things like that. So you guys are welcome to that as well. Of course, you get a copy of the Cosmetic Surgery Journal. And as you transition into your cosmetic surgery career and fellowship, you also get QMP, which is a huge database of videos and surgical kind of knowledge. And then what can you expect as far as your career aspects in AACS? And so there's a career resume bank and job resource center that you guys can start even looking into now and kind of thinking about where you guys want to go into the future. There's a lot of articles. There's a huge business presence in AACS and how they can help you manage that. There's student loan support, there's branding support, and I think the most important thing really is network support. The AACS has resident training fellow online forums where you can ask us questions and talk to us online. Recently there was virtual live, I guess Zoom is our new live, a Q&A session where PDs, training fellows and past fellows were there, and you guys were able to talk to us and ask us any questions. And of course, the most important thing is this large multidisciplinary network that you guys are privy to now. And really what you can expect as you transition into a career in cosmetic surgery. So once you become fellows and so forth, then AACS offers a lot of different things. So as far as education, there's webinars, injection seminars, expert seminars. Professional development include obviously putting on the conference, leadership positions, committee positions. As far as advocacy, AACS works very hand in hand with AMA. They have a foundation. They do a lot of legislature change. And then, of course, the huge networking opportunities that you have. So I think this is the most important slide, and I want you guys to we're going back to the pie chart and all of the subspecialties that are part of AACS, and I want you guys to really see that within the past 30 years, they've trained over 350 fellows, and so it's a very new and innovative field, and so that field is growing, and I think you guys are definitely the future of that field, and that really what brings a uniqueness to AACS, because you guys will be the new and elite future and you're starting so soon. So it's amazing. And really, it's a win-win-win situation. I don't know if any of you guys are Office fans, but you get to do what you love, you get to do what you're good at, and of course, you get to do what the industry and patient needs. So it's a win-win situation. Okay, and okay, we're gonna go back to kindergarten one more time. I will read this last slide to you, but I really kind of want to take time and read this quote by my program director. And he really said that the Academy singularly understands the value of being a pluralistic collaboration of cosmetic surgery. It is a distinct specialty that is owned by no specialty. And really, when you have fellows, program directors that come from different backgrounds, you get a unique cross-pedigree program training. And it is a huge drive for innovation, and it increases patient safety, better outcomes, and overall results. So I think that is what makes AACS so unique and so amazing. And just some hard-hitting facts here. Of course, 100% of AACS members are happy with their choice of becoming members, and 110% of them have found amazing mentors and lifelong colleagues and friends. And that being said, I think I talked to you guys about why AACS is unique. Please contact Margaret because she knows all of the things. But if you guys have any questions or anything else, just let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think that was a really great introduction to the AACS and what the fellowship has to offer for residents and then for fellows as they continue on. Our next speaker is Dr. Stephanie Lester, and she's going to speak to us about 5 things to do in residency to prepare yourself for a career in cosmetic surgery. And you're doing a fellowship with Dr. Sessa in Sarasota, and your background is general surgery. Come on up.
All right, good afternoon. Just by a show of hands real quick, who is a resident that's attending? Okay, good. So just to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Stephanie Luster. I'm a current cosmetic surgery fellow at Sarasota Surgical Arts in Sarasota, Florida. I grew up in Tampa. I did a medical school there, and then I did a general surgery residency in New York, and had really early exposure to the AACS through my chiefs at the time. Multiple went through the AACS fellowships and are now doing cosmetic surgery, so I followed in their footsteps, and although no path in cosmetics is quite linear, we all got here. So just to begin, I've outlined a few things that I think are important to focus on when you're in residency. One, a lot of this is introspective, but is this the right career for you? Deciding on your future practice, choosing a fellowship, networking, and then seeking out current or former fellows to help guide you in that process. So to help you choose if this is the right career path, there's a few things you should really consider. One is the clinic and OR balance. A lot of people don't realize that going into cosmetic surgery, there's a patient rapport you have to build trust, you spend a lot of time speaking with your patients, so the clinical aspect is almost equal, if not more, than the time you'll spend in the operating room. So that's really important to practice in residency, get good at chit-chat and banter, and then also building trust. It's also important to consider the patient population that you'll be treating. These are totally elective procedures, so patients have really high expectations, and it's your responsibility to help manage that. And then, of course, having a business mindset is pretty important, regardless of the type of practice you go into, whether you want to own your own practice or work for somebody else. You have to get good at advertising yourself and marketing your work to make you stand out amongst the competition. And then piggybacking off of that, deciding what type of practice you want is important, whether you want to be a solo surgeon, join a group practice, or join a big conglomeration that has a partnership track. It's important to keep that in mind, and having early exposure to that is pretty good. So if you can network with fellowship directors in your area and shadow in different surgical settings, you'll be able to have exposure to that. Even in fellowship, if you don't get a chance to shadow beforehand, you definitely do get to see how your fellowship director collaborates with other physicians. They might not. How they work in different environments, whether they have an operating room in their office or if they have to travel. and how they are looking to grow and expand their business. Choosing a fellowship is probably the most important step for you at this point. This is a lot of the introspective part I was talking about. So focusing your future on either face procedures, body procedures, or both, having early exposure to the types of procedures that you'll be doing is good, because that's what your future career is going to be. And if you have one focus that you want to get really good at, then picking a fellowship director that specializes in just body, just face, or both is pretty key. Also, things to ask in your interviews with your future fellowship directors is whether or not it's a hands-on fellowship or more of an observership. The more experience you have actually in the operating room and doing the procedures, the better off you'll be in the future. Same along the lines of like being present in the consultations and in the clinic, seeing patients one-on-one. And then because you will have finished your residency in your specialty, you're a fully certified doctor at that point. So having, autonomy in the post-op care of patients and having that flexibility in decision-making is pretty important. And then, of course, location, where you decide to do your fellowship, you get really familiar with the client base there. And if you choose to stay in that location, you're just extra familiar. And then the last 2 points in regards to networking, you're already at the AACS conference, so that's pretty clutch. It's probably the best thing you could have done. All the fellowship directors are here, if not most of them, so definitely make those connections, see who's local to you, and see if you can start shadowing. That's probably the best experience you'll get. And then, of course, all the current and former fellows are accessible, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. And as we start our new careers, we, have a lot of experience to dump on you guys that are coming into it, and we have a lot to learn from the people before us. So it's always good to network and make connections with the people in your field. And if I missed anything that the fellows would like to add on, that's it.
That was really good. I think one thing that you said that's really important is the need to really like people if you're going to go into cosmetic surgery, because you have to develop that rapport with them. And it's going to be that word of mouth that is far better than any social media post, any advertisement you do. And it's also going to be the crucial part of getting you out of a fix should something not go quite right during a surgery. Because I don't know, raise your hand here if you've had perfect outcomes all the time. No matter what, you're going to end up with a complication. And if the patient likes you, the patient's going to work with you through it. And if the patient doesn't like your mannerism with them, or you kind of don't want to deal with them when they become a problem patient and push them off, they're going to be seeking another opinion, a legal opinion as well. So you really have to like people when you go into this specialty, or be really good at acting. All right, Dr. Karlinsky does not need an introduction, but she's going to be our next speaker. And she's going to talk to us about how to proceed with the AACS fellowship. Dr. Karlinsky was an AACS fellow herself as well. And she is running an amazing practice that was initially out of New York. And then that was the last I had heard prior to the pandemic. And you're now in Florida as well. So I think that's phenomenal. So not only does she have the expertise in the procedures, the expertise in being on the executive boards here, she also, between she and her husband, have an amazing proficiency in practice management and probably have a lot to offer from that standpoint as well. Dr. Karlinsky.
Okay, welcome our prospective fellows. We're super happy that you guys are here. I think it's wonderful that there's interest, and we're always happy to be here and give you all the information that you need, because we really want to attract as many people as possible, and we want this to be a great experience for you. I'm just going to run through the process of how you would apply for a Cosmetic Surgery Fellowship. We try to streamline it, make it super easy, as uncomplicated as possible. But if there's ever any issues that you encounter during the process, as I mentioned during the fellowship luncheon, our all-knowing Wizard of Oz, Margaret Bankston, will always be able to help you navigate through this process. So to prepare to apply for your fellowships, you just need to review the program eligibility, make sure that you qualify to apply for our fellowships, request your letters of recommendations, just like we did while applying for residencies, and certainly apply for our membership in AACS. It's given to you at no cost, and it's a wonderful opportunity to become a member of this society. I think you guys can already tell, especially if this is the first time you're here, this is a very laid-back, very friendly group of people. We welcome everyone. We love to see new people coming in. There's no snobbery, and there's essentially no hierarchy. Everybody's friends here, and we always learn off of each other. So certainly join this academy. It's a very unique group of people. We would like for people to apply before January 15th. And I say would like because we do want to have a very streamlined process that's organized. However, even if you apply after February 15th for whatever reason, I know residency is tough, your application will still be looked at and sent out to the prospective fellowship directors. Upload your letters of recommendation and list the fellowship programs that you are interested in going to see. At this point, we have a substantial number of fellowship programs, so I think it would be impossible for any one person to go and visit every single program. So certainly, I think geographically wise and based on the type of practice, I think it's worthwhile to list at least 5 to 7 programs that you may be interested in to ensure that you come out and visit at least 3 or 4. This is just a slide on how to prepare for your interview. I think at this point in our careers and our lives, after having gone through medical school and residency, we really don't need to be told how to prepare for an interview. But yet every year I'm surprised. People come in late, they come in disheveled, they're not appropriately dressed, they have no idea what my name is. I've seen it all in the last 10 years. So certainly make sure you know where to go and don't be late. Most of us take lateness as a very bad sign. Because in surgery, of course, we rely on people to be there on time, to do things in a timely fashion. So that's, at least for me and in my fellowship program, it's a very bad pet peeve. I cannot stand people being late. Research the program director and research their place. Just do a little bit of reading. It's so easy. You just get online, you look at their website. So at least you have a basic understanding of what we do, who is the staff. It just makes it much easier so you don't come in completely lost. And think about the types of cases that really interest you, because as private practice, you have to remember that we're all very different. This is not an ACGME accredited residency program where most of the residencies in a particular field are fairly similar. We are vastly different in many ways, and somebody may do more body, less face. Somebody may do more face, less body. Somebody may have every single toy under the sun in their practice, and some may have just one. Make sure you know what it is you're interested in, and take a look and see what this particular program offers and whether or not they can really deliver what you're looking for. And like I said, dress appropriately. I mean, it's It's a simple thing that should not have been spoken of, but I tell you because I've seen very funky things during interviews. So during the interview, what I look for in a prospective fellow is I look for somebody who's really interested. And it's something that's very easy to see. When somebody's there just to be there, or somebody's really eager, somebody's really interested in this particular field, that's a very big plus for me. You have to show that you have an open mind and willingness to learn. Certainly as any residency really, PGY 5 general surgery residents, for example, like myself, when I was coming out, I felt like, okay, finally made it. I am a surgeon. I can do so many things. And then I assure you, you get to your fellowship and you realize that you don't know how to do anything, because everything that we do is so different from everything that you've learned in your residency program. So it is crucial that you keep an open mind and that you're willing to learn and that you stay humble through that year. The year is very short. And I always tell my fellows, while you and I are together, we do things my way. And we do them my way because, like Dr. Obaji said, you do it enough, you see your share of complications. And every complication will kill you just a little bit, will put a notch in your heart just a little bit. And it becomes self-preservation. Certainly, we care to make sure the patients are safe and they don't get hurt, but it's also a personal self-preservation. The guilt and the pain that you go through when the patient doesn't do well is immeasurable, and it never seems to go away. I've been doing it for 14 years, and it never goes away. The sleepless nights, the worrying, the loss of appetite, the overwhelming sense of guilt, not being happy around your children. I mean, all kinds of bad things happen to you when your patients are not doing well. And so I always ask my fellows, just bear with me. And I know sometimes things maybe sound silly, or you will not understand why somebody is doing certain things a certain way, but I assure you, all of it always comes from some bitter experience or because of a good reason. So you can always ask the reason, and just you prepare yourself to follow the footsteps of your fellowship director, as frustrating as that may be. And then when you go out on your own, you take whatever you want to take, and then you add you make it yours. But certainly humble attitude is very important. Kindness to the patients. This is private practice. Again, completely different from a residency clinic or a residency where you meet the patient in the pre-op area and the private attending brings in the patient. You really don't have to worry about your report with the patient. Here, it's a completely different story. I, as an owner of a private clinic, I'm relying on your capability to be kind and nice to the patient so that the overall experience still remains very high-end and the patient is very satisfied. Because I may be the nicest person, but if my fellow comes in and they're rude and inappropriate with the patient, the experience is ruined. And I assure you, it's going to go on the website and it's going to go into some review on Google, and somebody's going to say that Karlinsky and her staff are rude and the experience was terrible. And nowadays, that's something that can either make you or break you. And I always ask that my fellows are very respectful of that. No, it will never be a time where every patient is nice and kind. You get your fair share of butt kicking from patients because they're angry, they're upset, they tell you all kinds of ugly things. And through all of that, I always ask for professionalism, to remain calm, and if there's a problem, you always turf it up. Turf it up to me, turf it up to whoever you think is going to deal with it. But cosmetic surgery patient is a very different patient that we're used to in our residency. And so that has to be kept in mind when you guys come in. And it gets frustrating sometimes, but when you find a way to deal with it, you actually realize that it's not so difficult. You can turn the ugliest situation to your benefit, and it just requires patience, kindness, and humility. And that's what I always ask for. So once you guys finished with your application process, it gets into Margaret's office. Margaret will sort them out, and she will forward them to the program directors that you indicated, the programs that you're interested in. These are just some really cool pictures. I see my two fellows, Dr. Kim and Dr. Lee, and Dr. Cutlass, who is my faculty from the fellowship in New York. It just kind of gives you an idea that everybody always has a good time. June 1st, we submit our rank list to the central office, and then applications received after June 1st are forwarded to open programs only. So as we're trying to do the match, those applications will no longer be forwarded until the match is complete. The match day is July 1st. The program directors receive notice who they matched, and the prospective fellows receive the same notice. And if anyone had not matched into a program, and the programs that did not match a fellow will receive the available fellowships, and us will receive the available prospective fellows. And then we essentially do a scramble, same as an ACGME accredited program. Regardless of these dates, because we are a very small organization, I do not want to make it seem like if you didn't make it by that day, you can no longer submit your application for the academic year of July, let's say 2023 or 2022. You can always submit an application, and we'll do everything in our power to ensure that you get a fellowship spot when you want it with the program of your interest. So never hesitate to submit, even if the deadline has passed by. And again, you can always reach out to Margaret. She'll be able to guide you with what can be done. Thank you.
And what we can do afterwards is, I think we're going to be finishing a little bit early, so then we can open it up to questions and to have discussions. Our next speaker is Dr. Lauren Moy, and she is a dermatology resident graduate who's now doing her fellowship with Dr. Chips and Dr. Ron Moy in Beverly Hills. And so you're going to give us your perspective on the day in the life of your fellowship. And I think that's a really interesting spin. You're going to see a day in the life of a facial cosmetic surgeon, and then a day in the life of a facial and general cosmetic surgeon afterwards.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Moy. So we were told to kind of make this like the New York Times day in the life of. To be honest, I don't really read a lot of them, so I hope I did okay. But, oh, wait, how do I go back? So, yes, I'm at Moy Fincher Chips Facial Plastics and Dermatology in Beverly Hills. So even though Ron Moy is the program director, it's really lucky that we have 3 other dermatologists like Dr. Chips here, and it's really great to see how they do things differently and the different styles, because it really adds to the education of everything. So a little bit about me. So I did a combined program in upstate New York. It's called Siena College, and it fed into Albany Medical School. And then I did dermatology residency at Loyola in Chicago. So it was very cold for a long time, and now I'm a lot warmer. I have my hobbies is I played tennis in college, actually. For some reason, they made the Siena tennis team Division I because of our basketball team, so I got beaten a lot in college. But I also like yoga, Pilates, and the occasional spin class, and that's mostly so I can eat and bake and do the other fun things. So this is kind of the pre-work right before I actually go. So I wake up around 5:30, whether I want to or not. Just kind of habit that I'm sure we all have from residency at some point. I eat breakfast, and we just recently got a puppy. He's a mini Cavapoo named Koji, who's right there. And I usually leave for work between 6:45 or 7 a.m., depending on the office location. And like everyone said, every fellowship is different because it's private practice. So this one has 3 locations. The first is in Beverly Hills, so I live pretty close. It's not that bad. And then for anyone in California or Los Angeles knows that every drive is going to be very dependent on traffic. So it can range from 20 to 30 minutes, and if something happened, maybe a little longer, but it's not that bad from Encino, which is in the Valley, or Torrance, which is in the South Bay. But I spend most of the time at the Beverly Hills office, and it's the largest location that we have. It has 10 exam rooms and 2 ASC units, as well as like a photo room, and that we were undergoing renovations, which is why I don't have a lot of photos of the inside of the office, but it was actually a great opportunity to see that kind of side of the private practice and business aspect and how much work that alone goes into it. So before everything gets started in the day, I try to get there early, try to help everyone set up like either consents or the post-care instructions, including like the aftercare home bags, as well as help with patient pre-op photos and setting up the procedure trays. So that's kind of the fun part, I guess, of having 4 different doctors, as well as everyone likes different things on their tray. So kind of just getting to see what everyone's preferences is, so then you can develop your own. And then pre-num if it's applicable. So here's our photo room before the renovations. Everyone's, I'm sure, is going to look different, and same with like the preference of how people want their photos done. But this is something like for residents here, we didn't really, at least in our program, get a lot of exposure to. So it's been really valuable to see like different angles and how people, want the lighting and how to work with all the cameras or iPads. So that was really good. And then, like Dr. Karlinsky was saying, is the really also great part that's not like an operational thing of the fellowship is being in the room with all of the different attendings, of seeing how they interact with patients, how they phrase things, especially like difficult patients. It is a different population than what we saw in dermatology residency, at least. So it's been really invaluable to kind of hear the styles and how to phrase things to people, especially in tough situations. Oh no. So here's just a picture, obviously these are with patient consents, of one of the cases that we commonly do of like neck lifts and full face CO2 lasering. We use a lot of tumescent anesthesia, but there are occasionally some people who want a general, like an anesthesiologist, which we work with as well. And then you'll see we have a Zimmer cooler as well. And then here are some follow-up pictures, just because I thought it would be good to see before and after. So this patient got a facelift and full CO2 laser resurfacing, and she was super happy. She had a really easy post-operative course, and she was nice through the whole thing. So it was really great to kind of have that follow-up and continuity that I guess I didn't always get in residency myself. It's not going forward. Oh, there we go. And then just because we are a dermatology office, we do a lot of other cases. I didn't put blepharoplasties on there, but we do a lot of Mohs surgery, including flaps, different grafts, and linear closures, scar revisions as well, and then a lot of non-invasive things, and a lot of lasers, and then, of course, injectables. So it's a lot of variety every day. And then the other great thing is learning how to do the post-procedure calls. So I'm sure every practice is different, but at least for the bigger repairs for Mohs surgery and then every cosmetic surgery case, I try to call the patient, see how they're doing, if they're having any pain, anything like that. And this is just like what I do on a regular day. It makes me seem pretty boring, but depending on the time of day, I try to do something active. Dinner, I'm pretty lazy, but luckily my husband likes to cook. And then I try to do some question banks or read a journal article or do something before bed and work on presentations like this one. And then just kind of pre-read the schedule, which I'm sure everyone does something, but thank you.
Yeah, one of the things you're going to learn when you go through your fellowship, and it's probably the most important part of fellowship, is to appreciate all the different exposures to complications that you're going to see. I think, when you're a fellow, you can see the complications, but you don't have the emotional attachment to them that Dr. Karlinsky was talking about because you're still in a fellowship. But that's a great learning opportunity at that point. It's afterwards that you want to make sure that you have that mental and physical fortitude in your stomach to handle those complications. But hopefully you emulate the good behavior from your fellowship directors in terms of how to diffuse a situation, how to manage those patients. And so as you saw with Lauren, she's going through and she's doing the very basics almost of everything leading up to the procedure, during the procedure, after the procedure. But that's all something that you're going to then have to go back when you start your practice and implement. So these are all, even though they may seem mundane, they're very important steps. Now, our next speaker is a general surgery background, Dr. Jean-Paul Leva. Hi. And you're telling me that your wife is a dermatology resident.
Yes.
And
right.
she is training under one of my former fellows,
Yes.
Ksenia Golovets. So her new name now is Kovets. So it's really exciting to see how everything kind of comes full circle.
Definitely a small world, yeah. All right, so I'm going to be doing a lecture on a day in the life of a general cosmetic surgery fellow. So it's mostly pictures. You know, I figure I was told once, don't read too much off your slides and keep people, you know, interested with pictures. So what I do is, beginning of my week, I start off, you know, logging into NextTech, which is the EMR that we use. I write down my cases so I can have an idea of what, you know, I have upcoming on the week. As you can see there, you know, it's a nice mix. We got otoplasties, BBLs, abdominoplasties, breast augs, lots of blepharoplasties, all kinds of things. This is my commute to work. I take the 405 train. I come into Grand Central. This is the front of our office. I obviously took this during Christmas. So if you see us, you know, if you're walking on Fifth Avenue and you see this building, it's a landmark building. It's the Fred French building. So you'll recognize this and you can come say hi. This is one of our attendings. He's coming in because no one drives. You know, he drives a little scooter to work. He's one of the facial plastic surgeons. All right, and now time to get to work. So this is our pre-op area. We pre-op the patient, get them ready for the operating room, you know, prep the OR. This is our operating room over in Manhattan. Kind of our little setup. More pictures of our operating room. And then that's it. Time ready to go. Some facial plastics. And this is Dr. Weistrick. He's one of our facial plastic surgeons. He does lots of rhinoplasties, chin, you know, augmentations, chin reductions too, otoplasties. This is Dr. Kim and I. We're doing an abdominoplasty. Some pictures, you know, in action. Always in the constant pursuit of getting that fat during liposuction. So this is our, you know, buckets of fat. And this is Dr. Cutlass, who he's one of the oculoplastics. He's great. He operates there every Wednesday. And usually we call him Cutlass Supreme because he does, you know, 3, 4, 5 blepharoplasties, upper, lower, fat grafting. Sometimes he does facelifts. We did something with ear once, but mostly eyes and face. So then sometimes, you know, we take a little bit of lunch, snack breaks. This is someone who sent us a milk, 2 boxes from Milk Bar Momofuku. And then sometimes, you know, we do different things too. We don't always eat, you know, Momofuku or drink champagne. This is Dr. Cutlass. It was his birthday, so we gave him some coffee and chocolate. And then the attendees that we work with, some of them are pretty famous. You know, they post us and tag us on Instagram, and then all of a sudden you're sponsored by Soylent and you get 2 boxes of Soylent free. So this is one of our anesthesiologists who Dr. Cutlass tagged, and that's me and him in this picture. All right, so now that we've operated, you know, usually operations are the first thing that we do. Then we move on to post-op, consults, lasers, injectables, you name it. And this is kind of where we do it. So there's some fillers. There's Dr. Karlinsky injecting Dr. Kim. You know, they volunteered for this picture, so there you go. And then some lasers as well. And, you know, it's not all business. Sometimes it's, you know, it's about wellness, so a little bit of puppy time. My wife brought in our dog, Teddy. He's a Maltipoo, so everyone, stopped what they were doing, took pictures. As you can see there, the dog got a lot of attention. And then sometimes we have birthdays that come up, we do birthday celebrations. We don't always get Dom Perignon, but sometimes, that's what we do. This happened to be for my birthday, so that's why I have the picture. And that's us celebrating at the end of the day, obviously. And that's it. Lights out, time to go home. So then you get home and turn on your TV, and guess what? Dr. Weistrick, who you just did some facial plastic case with, is now on TV talking about trends in cosmetic surgery, which is pretty cool. And then it's lecture time, right? Because obviously we have to make sure we do lecture. And lecture happens once a month. Dr. Chate and I will usually trade off, do a Q&P, which is our, it's a kind of a video Q bank, and kind of give people an idea of what they should be looking at. And then the lecture happens after that. And this is just a sample of what kind of shows up when you log in. So there's, leading experts. For example, one of the people who does the facelift lecture on this is Dr. Giacono, who he works down the street from us, and he's the guy that charges $100,000 for a facelift. So you're getting some pretty good videos. And then there's obviously just different sections that you can go for: rhinoplasty, hair transplant, all kinds of different things. That's kind of a sample of our lecture schedule. And as you know, part of my fellowship is in Florida, so this is me in the airport off to Florida. It's not too bad. It's a little bit different than New York, nice water, nice views, and not as cold. And then when you get there, it's kind of like a boot camp for operating. So this is actually the lightest day that we had while I was there, and I just came back. I was there last month. As you can see there, we have 3 breast reductions with tummy tucks and 4 areas of lipo. It's a pretty tedious, busy boot camp type of experience, but you get great experience, do great cases. And as you can see, they really love Dr. Karlinsky there. They call her the queen. And there's another area that we also operate at. It's called Plus Cosmetic Surgery Center. So I just put a picture of that there. And the meat and potatoes of it all, because I was thinking about this when I was in your seat. Well, how many cases do you actually get to do? So I did this right when I first got to Miami, so it doesn't include my Miami numbers, but I did about 430 cases up until the end of December, so until January 1st. So it's a lot of cases. You're definitely pretty busy. And that's it. That's the end of the day.
That's an extremely busy day. And I agree with the name, the Queen. I don't want to know what my residents call me, or my fellows for that matter. Dr. Daisy Ayim is going to be our next speaker, and I'm happy to be on the Women Cosmetic Surgery section with her as well. And for those of you who don't know, our breakfast session is tomorrow. And if you enjoyed the keynote speech this morning by Dr. Andrea Moreira, she'll be speaking tomorrow on leadership for women in surgery. And you're going to talk to us about the timeline, which is really important, from going from your fellowship to opening a cosmetic surgery practice. You're triple board certified by the American Board of OBGYN, the American Board of Cosmetic Surgery, and the American Board of Facial Cosmetic Surgery. So welcome.
Okay, great. Hi, guys. Good afternoon or good evening. I can see down here. So this is really exciting. When I said I was going to do this talk, I was like, this is really like a 30, 40 minute, even an hour, because this is the business of cosmetic surgery. And I remember when I was a fellow, even a resident, back when I did OB/GYN residency, you don't learn this stuff. You learn to be a great surgeon, you learn to be a doctor, and poof, you're out. You get a job, you try to figure it out. So the idea of this talk is to kind of give you that 10-minute power of business of cosmetic surgery. So like they said, I am triple board certified. I own my own private practice and OB/GYN practice. I did it for 10 years. I went back and I did an AACS fellowship, and I went back into my practice, incorporated cosmetic surgery. So I run a 3-in-1 practice, if you can say. And where do I point? Okay. And that's a picture of me. So I've done this quite a bit. In Houston, I am known as a startup practice. I have helped start many physician practices in different specialty because that's what I do. It comes naturally. I do not have an MBA. I don't think you needed to do this stuff. It's just a natural talent. So I have helped a lot of women, especially startup practices in Houston. So for this talk, I just wanted to focus on that. This is an outline of the things you need to start up a practice: location, accounting, legal, funding, privileges or not. And that is, kind of different with cosmetic surgery. Staffing, which is the key of all that option, and your internal office. How do you run your business? This overview, I actually stole this from Dr. Menendez. Maybe 3 years ago, he did a similar talk, and he had this slide, and I thought it was just a nice overview. Some of you may already have some of this in place, but I think it's a great idea to just look at this overview. You want to have your state licensure. It all depends where you want to practice. Everyone is different. You may want to do Pacific Northwest, California, Florida, Texas. So you have to keep in mind where you want to practice. In some states, you can get a license really quickly. Other states, it can take several months. So it's really important. Branding, as we're talking about social media, is key. What do you want to sell about yourself? And a lot of it is about your core values of who you are as a person, your character, and that manifests into your brand. So as you start growing your business and you look at social media, be very cautious because I call it kind of presenting sometimes false prophecies. So what you see on there may not necessarily be what goes on in people's practices. So it's a very key thing. As you start branding yourself, be mindful of who you are as you project out there, because when you interact with your patients in your practice and you go online and you sell a different message, it can be very conflicting in your growth and who you are. But further on that, I talk about location and policies and insurance and negotiating. This is just an overall view. So let's go into more details. Location. I think this is the most important thing in setting up your practice. Where do you want to do business? The location matters for your personal, whereas family. It matters as far as what income you're trying to project as a business owner. Within the city, different location in the city says a lot. I'm in Houston, and where I practice and where I have my office says a lot about who I am. And that goes to any city. So if you're in an area that is high affluency, it says a lot about who you are. If you're in an area that is just middle of the road, it says a lot. So location is very important in your business structure. Proximity to hospitals, schools, and it's things that you have to consider. If you don't have children, you're not thinking about that. But if it's something you want to have in the future, you really want to consider it because it's going to make your quality of life really easy when you have all those things in place as you're practicing. The demographic, the pyramids, the brand perception, that all depends if you want to take insurance or not. Cosmetic surgery is mainly a cash business, but if you decide to build a surgery center, you may consider wanting to get an insurance plan because you can bill for the surgery facility, but not necessarily you as a surgeon, and the reimbursement can be very high, so that's something to consider. Or you can do a straight up cash model and set up your prices, and that's fine too. So demographic plays into a lot into how you structure your business. And as far as the office space, do you want to own or do you want to rent? And what is your 5-year projection, your 10-year projection? All of that does matter. Do you want to build out a suite? Do you want to build out a building? Do you want to buy it already ready-made? All those things would determine how you run your business. And as far as the surgery suite is concerned, I would say that with cosmetic surgery, it's almost imperative if you do a private practice to have a surgery center within your office. It just makes your life easy, it makes the flow easy, and you can get things done. However, it's very costly to build out a surgery center. You're looking at easily $500,000 to build just one surgery suite. And if you're gonna do one, I always say it's better to do two because at least you can rent out the second one or you can hire someone or contract it out. And if you ever want to sell it, it's a lot easier to sell when you have two surgery suites than one because it's more attractive for anyone that wants to purchase. But that is not cheap. Where's the money going to come from? Most of you are straight from residency and you're doing this fellowship. Unless you come from wealthy parents, or you have a trust fund, or you have some sort of secret stash somewhere, you have to borrow this money. So then you have to think about, how am I going to pay this off? So there's a lot of planning that comes into this, which really just goes back to do your homework. Everyone here is intelligent and smart, obviously. But when it comes to business, it's almost like we lack that step. And it's just because we've not been exposed. So it's either you intentionally expose yourself, you talk to people that have done it, or you join someone and you learn along the way. Hopefully they teach you the right thing, and hopefully you don't get shafted in the process with bad contracts and get stuck. So be very careful, do your homework. Accounting, legal, and agents, this is sort of like a broad umbrella. Anytime you do a business, you will need an accountant, and a great accountant can make your life so much easy, and it's very, very difficult to find great accountant. I'm not sure what anyone's experience is here. So how do you find one? I don't know. I am fortunate I've had 2 accountants in the past 14 years, and I would say that one is really great, the other one was okay. But you need it, because there's a lot of legalities that comes with running a business that you don't want to know, honestly. So that's where they come in. A lawyer, it's kind of questionable. I've never used a lawyer in any of my businesses, because I do read the contract and I do negotiate it to my favor, and I take the time to do it. Most physicians won't do that because, one, I think it's just because they don't want to do it, or they feel like they need a lawyer because we've been ingrained that you need a lawyer to look at the contract, but you really don't. If you're savvy and witty and read the language of it, you can understand and negotiate it to your favor. So that's something I put on there. Some may just want to, and that's okay. A financial agent is important, especially when you start looking to build out and funding and all those things. If you have the time to invest, to do all of that yourself, you can. Otherwise, you get an agent to sort of get started. But I tend not to use third parties on things because I just think I'm type A. So it makes it a lot easier for me to put my time and get it done. But you may not want to. Federal tax, ID filing, monthly quarterly reports, insurance, trying to get on insurance plans, all of that, you really want to outsource it. You do not have the time as a surgeon to do those things, and you want to outsource it to someone that is competent, because you truly are out of the loop and you're dependent on this person to set it up for you the right way the first time. Because when they make a mistake, it takes so much headache to undo the mistake and do it the right way. So there's a lot of trust in that process. And, it's like anything else. You just have to interview and hopefully get referral sources from someone that knows someone, or just, Google and look at their reviews. Your business tax filing and payroll and retirement, those are some things that you do want to consider when you're starting a business, especially if you work for yourself. You are it. So you have to start thinking beyond just making revenue. How are you going to sustain yourself? What is your long-term retirement? How am I going to save for my kids or my golden age? And so all those things you really want to put in place when you start your business, because the rule of thumb when it comes with investment is when you start young, you start early, the reward is higher and greater. So you don't want to work 5 years and start thinking about retirement. You want to think about it the minute you start. So as far as funding is concerned, this is a really big part of starting your business. And like I mentioned, if you come from a rich family, you probably are fine. Mom and dad can, give you $500,000 to get started, or you can walk into your parents' established practice and you're good to go. But that's not the story for most people. It certainly wasn't the story for me. Everything started from the bottom up. I had no one or nothing. I'm an immigrant in this country, and I successfully built 7-figure businesses by just doing my homework. So business loan is one way you can get started. You can go to a Chase or Bank of America to request a business loan. If as a physician with good credit, you can literally request and get whatever you need. $1 million, $500,000, it doesn't matter. They will give it to you because you're high earning and they know the potential of you and your career. So, but like any loans that you get, you really have to have a strategic plan with this loan. What am I gonna do with this money and how am I gonna expend it? line of credit is a really good way to have in your business. It really helps the flow of the business in case you do need cash, or you may not. But I always think it's a good idea if you're setting up a business account to just establish a line of credit. If you never use it, it's okay, but at least it's there just as a revolve, just in case you need something. A business credit cards, that's automatically we're getting a loan. The banks would give that to you. Now, as far as grants is concerned, there are a lot of grants out there that most physicians don't even think about or consider. SBA, for example, small business loan, they have a lot of grant for women. They have a lot of grant for minorities. They have a lot of grant if you're starting something new. You just have to go to their website, filter it, and you will see hundreds of grants sitting there. You just need the time and the effort. And if you do it, that's a good way to start up your business. As far as partnership is concerned, you can be hired to start in a practice. You can have partnership tracks. But like anything else, I feel like it's a marriage that you walk into and you don't really know what you're getting into. And the marriage is very enticing when you're signing a contract and then you get in there. It may not work out as you imagine. So it's a very murky step for me when I think of partnerships. So I just say be cautious with that and make sure that your core values do align and make sure that you get the report and you understand the cash flow, you understand their financials in a very detailed aspect. And to ask those detailed questions, they should be very transparent because that will say a lot about the health of that business to you. Because a lot of partnerships, they will tell you, after 3 years, you can get partnership. The next thing you know, it goes on to 4 years and 5 years. And next you know, you're like, oh gosh, I have to start all over again. And you've wasted 5 years. So it really asks some important questions. Obviously, as a physician, the easiest thing to do is be employed, right? You're a surgeon, you can go work for, there's so many companies here, Sonobello, Elite, you name it. It takes away the worry, you show up, you do your work, you walk away, you collect your check, end of story. There's nothing wrong with that too. If that's something you want to do, absolutely go for it. But like anything else, just think about why you wanted to pursue cosmetic surgery. What is your long-term gain with this fellowship? What am I going to do after my fellowship is over? Am I trying to be a private sector, own my own practice? Am I trying to be an employee? What is it that I chose to do this fellowship? What is it that I wanted for myself? It's really important. Hospital privileges and insurance. This is a very, very tricky one, and it is so important for us as cosmetic surgeons to try our hardest to have hospital privileges. You do not need a hospital privilege to do cosmetic surgery. All you need is an accredited surgical center or surgery suite, and you can do your work outside of the hospital and be very successful and be fine. However, it's important to have hospital privileges because there will be a time, you never hope for this, where a patient of yours will show up at hospital. It's so important to have the admitting privileges at the hospital, because at least you can go and admit the patient on your service, or if not, have access to your patient and just kind of mitigate the care of that patient because you just never know. So you will find that when you finish your fellowship, trying to get hospital privileges is very, very difficult. It is a political game. Within the hospital networks, you have plastic surgeons that are on these committee boards, and they do a fantastic job to make sure that you do not get hospital privileges because it's all about competition, it's all about interfering with the progress of us, right? So some hospitals they may be easier to give you privileges than others. So there is always a way, is what I say. I've been out now 3 years, I'm in Houston, and if I tell the battles I have fought to get on hospital staff, you would not even believe it. And I'm still fighting. So that's one thing I'll tell everyone in here, whichever city you choose to go to, find it and make it your priority to get on this hospital privileges because that's one thing that's gonna help us. And in the practice of medicine and cosmetic surgery, I think is good. On this list, I have further things. I talk about your DEA, your NPI, business account setup. On that initial timeline that I gave you guys, that's what you really want to look at. So if you're starting your fellowship right now, the first question you need to have for yourself is, where do I want to practice? Once you've narrowed it to a city, then you decide, what in that city am I going to do? What structure of business do I want to do? Do I want to be employed or do I want to do my own thing? If you say you want to do your own thing, then that's when you start going to a bank, start securing a loan, securing an office space, ask questions. Even signing office lease is very tricky post-COVID because you would think that building owners be more, how should I put it, understanding with the pandemic. But I have found that it's not the case, and in Houston especially, it seems like all the rents are going up, and I have my colleagues that I have worked with for years. Some of them are moving out, trying to find a different space just because the cost of living, for whatever reason, has gone up. We tend to blame it on the California transplant, but that's just us. We like Californians, by the way. Internal office. So once you've set up your office, how do you want your office to flow? Just from the minute the patient walks in, what is their appearance? What is the message you're selling to this man or woman? How do you want the decor to be? How do you want the staff to be positioned? Just answering the phone. Do you want to do Comcast or AT&T? Who's your answering service? All these are small internal things that are really important that says a lot about your business, and it's something to keep in mind. You want to make a chart of, I call it your stable costs: rent, phone, employee payroll. Those things never really change. If you happen to get devices, those are stable costs. And then you want to do your variable. If you're doing great, maybe you pay your staff bonuses or not. So you want to have this two-sheet, I call it, of expenses in your office. One that never changes and one that is flexible. Simple things like your card, your website, all those things matter. Having a great website is the biggest thing you can do for yourself as a cosmetic surgeon. And it's very interesting to see that because when I started in OBGYN, literally all I did was open my practice. I got an insurance plan. I treat that woman really nice. She went into her girlfriends, her mom, her sister, and my business grew. And I never marketed. I did zero marketing, and I built a 7-figure business. That is not cosmetic surgery. Cosmetic surgery, you're gonna spend so much money just to look good, and you've not even collected a penny yet. So you have to set up your business to make sure that you have ROI. Everything you do has to be a return investment. So you want to follow that trail, and it really starts your website. You want to capture those leads on your website. Social media is really important right now. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, those are the places to be. You can use it to your advantage. I mean, I'm on Instagram. I have a huge following, but it took a lot for me to even be comfortable being there because I'm such a private person. But it's almost like you have to expose yourself, but you have to be wise in how you expose yourself and do not compromise your core values, even when it look a bit noisy on those platforms, because all of that, your patients are watching you. And I think Dr. Karlinsky and Dr. Obachi said something really critical. Humility is something that you do when you run a business because your patients will humble you. So if you are out there in this platform and presenting so much aloofness in your wealth and how successful financially, whatever image you're trying to draw out there, they're watching you. So imagine if something goes wrong and they come back in your office and you have to address this woman or man. They have watched you. You have this image out there. So humility is something that you should always keep in mind when you run a business, especially in this day and age. You will have a patient that will be unsatisfied with you. You will have many patients that love you, but you will have patients that will be unsatisfied. And there's nothing worse than looking at that patient to try to justify your impeccable work, knowing you have put an image out there on a platform that may not be who you are, but you're trying to keep up with whatever it is. So branding is so important. And going back to your billing and your workflow, I think that's the most important part of your business is your personnel, the PCC, the patient care coordinator. That person sells for you. You're the physician, you're not the closer. You'll do a good job explaining the procedure, you'll do a good job being the surgeon. However, you need someone that's a salesperson that is there to close the deal. So your PCC is the most important person you could have in your practice. They're going to close that deal. They're going to secure that patient so you can make money. So going back to your employees, this is your key to your success. There's not a right or wrong way. After employing so many people and so many staff, the one thing I always keep in mind is that your staff knowledge or your staff educational background is not that high. So you have to remember that's your audience. So the way you treat and value them, you have to come down to that level and understand that some of them are just college dropout, maybe. They went to medical assistant school, that was it. So you have to be mindful that this is who you're employing your staff. Occasionally you may have someone that has, an MBA or bachelor's degree. That is nice, but that's not your typical staff. So be very cautious in how you treat them and how you engage with them. And what I try to do is, obviously, you want to get close to your staff, but there's a firm line to always keep so that there's that boundary and that separation so that you can execute differently if you have to make choices. HR is something that's important when you start your business. You have to have a good one. If you don't know how to do a HR, you can sign up with like a Paychex or ADP. They have HR services with payroll. It's a little bit of an expense, but it can definitely get your business going and it takes away some of those responsibilities. Other thing is employee manual. I always say that a manual is because you want to tell that employee that they should not be able to do or not do something. So you want to have an employee manual just in case, especially on unemployment currently. Your employee manual will save you if you have to explain why you let go of someone. So that's really important. And again, benefits, think about that when you start your business for yourself and for your family. This right here is just a timeline from the first slide that I had. So I think it's a great slide to have so you can look at the different checkbox that you're starting a business and then just check as you go. So what is your vision? I put this right here just to summarize. When I started a cosmetic practice, again, I've never advertised, I've done nothing. So here I am in this new world and I had to run a business that's completely different. This is the first ad I created for my practice in 2019. And I had the first event, did this all by myself, know nothing. And on this event, we made $50,000. I went home and I said, how did I do that? And I'm just here to tell you that you're not going to have all the answers when you start your business, but you will evolve, you'll figure it as you go, and ask questions. And that's it.
That was extremely thorough and very important. I mean, that's something they don't teach you. We're never taught how to run a business. And you either figure it out or you make lots and lots of costly mistakes until you figure it out. So I think that actually deserves a whole other section by itself. Thank you. Our final but not least speaker is Dr. George Hahm, and he's double board certified cosmetic surgeon, American Board of Surgery, American Board of Cosmetic Surgery, co-chair of the Young Surgeons Committee, and you practice here.
Yes.
And he's going to talk about why it is important to become board certified.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending. Just going to be a brief talk about why I think the board certification is important to your career and how it's going to benefit you. All right. So nothing to disclose. So I'm going to talk about how you get board certified. The requirements are you have to have prior board certification from an ABMS or be board eligible. And then also that you have to have fellowship training. And so I think they've talked previously about the facial cosmetic surgery or general cosmetic surgery fellowship training. Or if you've gone through another program and it's been reviewed by the AACS and it meets the qualifications, and you can also sit for the board exam as well. And in the past, they've allowed the experienced referral surgeons who've been in the cosmetic field and have a background and experience, they've been able to do that, but that's been disallowed since 2013. So the exam, there's an oral and a written portion. And I think Dr. Sobel mentioned earlier this morning, I don't know if you attended the session, Dr. Sobel talked about the board certification. As part of the completion of the AACS fellowship, you have to be board certified. So you take your written exam, and then within a year, you have to take your oral exam. And the exam in the written form covers all the devices, face, body, breast, what have you. And it's prepared by the National Board of Osteopathic Medical Examiners, and it's psychometrically evaluated. And so again, now we're talking about the why the board certification. For me, it's mostly about networking and education. I've attended this meeting since I was a fellow back in 2017. And every year, aside from the pandemic when it was virtual, I've got to meet a lot of different surgeons, pick their brains, learned a lot, and got to know a lot of people. And so again, mentoring, innovation, collaboration. As it was mentioned previously, the AACS and the the ABCS is a multidisciplinary field. So you have people like dermatologists, oculoplastics, OMFS, ENTs and general surgeons. They all come together and they all bring a different perspective on cosmetic surgery, and you can pick their brains, you can learn from them, and that's essentially what I've done. And I've had a chance to teach at different conferences or give lectures, and it's been very beneficial. And you have access to different technologies and things like that the ABCS and FCS provides. And so this is just a photo of back in I think it was 2018. I'm surrounded by giants of the cosmetic surgery field, and there's me, lowly fellow there. And I got a chance to teach at the cadaver lab. I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to attend the cadaver lab yesterday. It's a fantastic opportunity to learn from, the giants of the field. And another reason, legitimacy. I did general surgery for about 7 years. 4 of those years were paid back to the Navy for paying for my medical education. I spent about 3 years in one employed position before I did my fellowship. But most commonly, people will come to you saying, hey, are you board certified? Because they equate that with your experience or your qualification as a surgeon. And ABCS and FCS are the only exclusively cosmetic surgery credentialing boards in the country. And so being board certified by either of these boards kind of demonstrates your expertise, and then your specialty training and also your dedication to patient safety. And just a little video for you to see.
American Board of Cosmetic Surgery is essential in producing surgeons, physicians who will go out there and will be able to perform cosmetic surgery, but perform it in the highest of standards that are possible.
Well, if you're ABCS certified and you've gone through a fellowship program, you have got the best training that you can ever get in this specialty.
So it's a rigorous process to even become a member, a board-certified cosmetic surgeon.
The board certification through American Board of Cosmetic Surgery is actually very unique. All of the surgeons that are part of the American Board of Cosmetic Surgery are at least dual board certified. They are previously surgeons, they've already been trained as a surgeon, and they have done additional training, which we call fellowship, to now gain additional experience in the field of cosmetic surgery and then take a board certification.
When you think about surgical training, you think about the number of cases that we do and how long it takes really to perfect your skills. So the very first day, I'm already a surgeon. I already know how to handle tissue, how to use my hands. So you're allowed to do more things, I think, right up from the very beginning.
The fellowship, I believe, is the beginning to training and how you do these consultations and how you run a practice.
The fellowship itself really focuses solely on your ability to become excellent in cosmetic surgery.
The group is extremely supportive. They're very sharing.
We're like any professionals that do things with their hands. The more you do, the better you come, the more finesse, the more experience, the more you become, you develop better skills. And that's what the fellowship or the proper training gives you. It empowers you, it educates you, it humbles you. And that's really the key.
Medicine and cosmetic surgery is a practice, and we get better and better at it every year. And the more we put into our training and networking and learning from our colleagues, the better we become.
One of the reasons why I'm so proud to be part of this board and proud to be of our academy is because safety has always been the #1 word that I've heard from the very beginning, from the moment I started my fellowship. It has always been about safety.
At the end of the day, the American Board of Cosmetic Surgery is the only certifying organization that requires such an extensive level of training, not only training, but an extensive level of examinations.
You are cutting and suturing, it's you, it's your hand. Whatever you do, it's in your name. So it's a very lonely world. And to have these people around you to give you that support and to hold your hand, priceless.
So another reason, marketing. Both boards maintain a surgeon directories on their website, and it's updated regularly. So it's high on the Google search metrics. And depends on where you're living. You can type in what city you are and that you're looking for a cosmetic surgeon, and your profile will pop up. It's also regularly referenced in expert sources in the media, and I don't know if any of you follow them on social media, but their diplomates are often featured on there with different messages about patient safety and education. And also, kind of going back to the whole board certification and how patients perceive things, they equate board certification with knowledge and safety, which is very, very important because all patients want to make sure that their surgeons are qualified. And again, it indicates mastery of the skill. And also, I can't hammer this up enough, patient safety. Because in the field of cosmetic surgery, you do not have to be board certified. You don't even have to be a cosmetic surgeon to do cosmetic procedures. It's not regulated. But the fact that you're board certified by the AACS, or the Facial Cosmetic Surgery Board, indicates you are trained to the utmost degree, and you've passed the examination to demonstrate your knowledge and your mastery. It's very, very important. And you can follow ABCS on Instagram, abcs.org, and those are the websites for the two boards. My contact information. Any questions?
Well, thank you. This was a really good session. If you have feedback on how we can make it better for next year as well, by all means, share that with us. And we have time for questions. If anyone in the audience has questions, even if the fellows, if you have questions about different things, by all means. If not, we'll get to adjourn for wine very early. All right, thank you all for being here.